Hey everyone. Okay, we're going to do this a little bit different. You are going to take your area perimeter notes at home or in class after you finish your quiz, and then finish it at home if you need to. And then tomorrow when you come to class, that frees up some time where we can go over it. We can do some activities and do your assignment and get a good start on it in class. So make sure you follow along and fill in the notes, do the examples, and then ask questions if you have some tomorrow. But make sure you come with this completed. Good luck! Okay, the first part of your perimeter and area notes is a definition, and we're going to define area. An area is the number of square units that fit inside a figure. So we're going to fill in this blank and write the area of square units inside a figure. So it's how many one by one little squares could cover an area. It could be centimeters, inches, feet, whatever the unit you are measuring it in. So for a square, the area might look funny. We do s squared or s times s. This also means s times s, which just means side times side. You could also think of it as length times width. You could think of it as base times height, whatever helps you remember it. But when you have a square, you know that on the example side, 2 times 2, because all sides are the 2 because it is a square. So our area would be 2 squared, or 2 times 2, which equals 4 square centimeters. You could also write it as 4 centimeters squared. The label is very important. Whenever we are doing area, you need to label in square centimeters or square units, or units squared. For a rectangle, same thing. This should just be some review. You could either do length times width, or you could call it base times height, just making sure you're doing the one side by the other side. So in the example, we have 5 times 2, which we know equals 10 square inches. Again, the label is very, very important. As we move down your chart, the next one we're going to do is a rhombus and a parallelogram. Again, 4-side figure, very similar to a square and a rectangle, except it does not have right angles. So it's a little bit different. Again, the area for a rhombus, much like a rectangular square, is the base times the height. The biggest thing you have to remember is the side that is slanted is not the height. Just think when you measure your height, you don't stand and tip over to the side or lean one way or the other. You stand as tall as you can, straight up and down. So the height is always right here. They might try to trick you and put like another number over here, like 3 feet. Make sure you do not use that for your height. So for this example, the rhombus area would be the base times the height, which would be 6 times 4, and we know that will equal 24 square feet. Again, remember that important label. A parallelogram, much the same as a rectangle and a rhombus again, except remember the height is not the slanted side. You would not stand sideways to get measured or lean one way or the other. You want to be as tall as possible, so that straight up and down is the height. So base times height for your parallelogram. So in this example, it would not be 12 times 6. It would be base times height. The base would be 12 because that is also down here. 12 times 5. And we know 12 times 5 would be 60 square centimeters. Okay, the next one in your chart that you may be familiar with is a triangle. There's 2 ways you can find the area. Both are the same. And this is missing on your area formula. Area here is 1/2. So you'll have to write that 1/2 in on your chart. But it would be 1/2 times the base times the height. You could also think of that as base times height divided by 2, which is what I like to do. You can do it either way. In the example, again, remember the height is not the slanted side. It would be from the top straight to the base. A straight line, you want to stand nice and tall, think of for your height. So your base would be 9. So we would do 9 times our height, which is 3, and then we'll divide it by 2. So then that means we have 27 divided by 2. When I divide 27 divided by 2, I would get 13 and a half centimeters squared. The biggest mistake kids forget is to divide by 2. So do not forget to do that at the end. I want to show you one other example here where a triangle might be this way, a right triangle, and again, this then would be your height and your base. So we would do base times height and then divide by 2. So not all triangles will look like this example. Some may be right triangles, some may look a little goofy, but always look for the height and multiply by base and divide by 2. Okay, one of them that you may not be as familiar with is a trapezoid. A trapezoid is something that has exactly one pair of parallel sides. And to find the area of that is we do 1/2 times the height multiplied by the base plus the base. So there's two bases, not the slanted sides, right? You want to do whatever side it could sit on, nice and flat. This one has multiple steps, so you want to make sure that you do the steps correctly. So in the area here, if we look at this example, we would do 1/2, and we're going to multiply it by the height, and the height is 5, and then times, we want to add our bases. Base 1 would be 7, base 2 would be 4. So I'd have 7 plus 4. Again, you want to remember your order of operations. So we're going to do 1/2 times 5 times, in our parentheses, this would be 11. And now you could do 1/2 times 55, or you could take 1/2 times 5 first. It's up to you. If we take 1/2 of 55, or you're dividing 55 by 2, you would get 27.5 meters squared. So that would be your answer. One thing I want to point out about on a trapezoid is that you make sure that it will not always look like this. A lot of trapezoids may look like this. Now in this case, this is not the base down here. This is not the base. Here would be base 1. Here would be base 2. This would actually be the height, because if I turned it over, if I turn this shape over and it sat on its base, this then would be how tall it is. So sometimes they try to trick you like that. So just make sure you know that the parallel sides are the base, and then the height would be the straight up and down line that forms right angles here. So this one would be the height of this trapezoid. This side would be the height of that trapezoid. Another one you might not be as familiar with finding the area of is a kite. And again, keep all these notes so that you can always look back and find your formulas. On most of the assignments, we will always give you the formulas. You just have to know which shape they go in. So in this case, for a kite, again, we want to do 1/2. Make sure that's written in on your notes. 1/2 the diagonal times the diagonal. Or you could think of it as diagonal times diagonal and then divide by 2, just like the triangle, how we divide by 2 instead of multiplying by 1/2. This D in that formula represents the diagonal. A diagonal on the kite is what cuts that kite right here in half. It's this one, and it would be this one. Those are your diagonals. In this kite, it's kind of hard to see, but the measure of this diagonal is 10. So we're going to do 1/2 times 10 times our other diagonal right here would be 6. So we're going to do 1/2 times 60, or 60 divided by 2, which equals 30 centimeters squared. I know that this is a new one and that the formula might be tricky, so you always want to keep these notes with you so you can always take a look at it and look at that example if you get stuck. Okay, now that we've talked about area and all the formulas, let's just quickly review perimeter. And you'll have to flip over your sheet to get to the perimeter side. Perimeter should be a real quick review, but the perimeter is the distance around something. So if you had to walk around the school, that would be the perimeter around the outside. So we want to say the distance around a figure. So to find the perimeter of a figure, you just add the lengths of all sides. So in this case, this rectangle, the perimeter, it says it would be 3.5 plus 3.5 plus 7 plus 7. Pretty basic, and we get 21 feet. You don't have to label square feet because we're not doing area again. So just the distance around is the total amount of feet. In this triangle, we're going to add up all sides. So we would have 3 inches plus 3 inches plus 5 inches, which equals 11 inches. The only time they'll try to trick you, or I'll try to trick you, is they might put the height in here and say, like, this is 6. That is not part of the perimeter. You are only adding the numbers that are around the sides, nothing inside of the triangle or the shape. Okay, there's about 4 examples on your notes where you just have to find the perimeter of each shape. If you feel like you can just do those without following along with me, go ahead and find the perimeter and then just kind of go back in the video and make sure that you have the correct answer. Otherwise, I'll guide you through it. So the perimeter of this rectangle, we know the perimeter is the distance around. So we're going to need to add up all the sides. So if you don't know, 15 inches here would mean 15 inches on the bottom here of this rectangle, and 8 inches would be the same on this side. So we would add up 15 plus 15 plus 8 plus 8. So I know that 15 plus 15 is 30. 8 plus 8 is 16 for a total of 46 inches. So my rectangle perimeter would be 46 inches. For my triangle, again, just adding up all sides, and since it's 12, 12, and 12, you can either do 12 plus 12 plus 12, or you could just say, so you could do 12 plus 12 plus 12, or you could just say 12 times 3 because you have 3 12s. And that would give you a total of 36 inches for your perimeter. Okay, the bottom two examples, number 3 and 4, again, we're going to find the perimeter, and this is a parallelogram. We're still going to add up all the sides around, so it'd be 26, 26, and 20 on both sides. So I would have 26 plus 26 plus 20 and plus 20. So 26 and 26 would be 52. 20 and 20 would be 40, and I'd have a total of 92 millimeters for my perimeter. On the trapezoid, again, we're just going to add up that distance around. So I'm going to go 5.5 plus 5.5. Oh, this is not 5.5, is it? I did 5 plus 5. 5.5 plus 5.5 plus 4 plus 7. 5.5 plus 5.5 would be 11. Plus 4 and 7 is 11 for a total of 22 centimeters for a perimeter. And that wraps up all of your notes. Make sure you have everything completed. If you have any questions, make sure to ask tomorrow. We'll do a lot of good activities with finding some area and perimeter around the room. But you did an awesome job. Come with it completed. See you tomorrow.